we're seeing the luxury sector is becoming even more human focused and humans are getting more expensive.
Sure.
But technology is getting cheaper all the time. And so we're seeing this bifurcation happening where what will be in the near future is that the high end of luxury will be high touch, human beings helping human beings. I see it in all industries.
For me, I'm very happy to hear Daniel say that people are expensive and I think valuable assets within the company. And minor is we are, as our founder often says, our business is all about people. People build brands, and brands, on the other hand, is an output of people. We continue to invest, grow, and also attract the right people.
People use social media when they travel even more than they do when they're at home. What are you doing on social media when you're traveling? You're bragging. So a lot of people travel because they want to brag.
The Secret Sauce. What's your secret?
The Secret Sauce เอพิโซดนี้สนับสนุนโดย Miner International คุณอยากรู้ไหมครับว่า Consumer Trend ในอนาคตจะเปลี่ยนไปอย่างไรอะไรคือแนวโน้มของพฤติกรรมผู้บริโภคถ้าเกิดว่าธุรกิจสามารถจับกระแสสิ่งเหล่านี้ได้ตอบความต้องการผู้บริโภคได้เราก็สามารถชนะในเกมธุรกิจได้นะครับวันนี้ผมมาหาคำตอบที่โรงแรม Awani Plus Riverside Bangkok ครับอยู่ในเครือ Miner Group นั่นเองสิ่งที่น่าสนใจก็คือข้างหลังผมเนี่ยนะครับวันนี้เขามีการจัดงานครับที่ชื่อว่า Leadership Summit จริงๆเขาจัดหลายวันมากเลยแต่ว่าวันที่ผมมาเป็นวันใหญ่ที่สุดครับเนื่องจากมีเจ้าของครับก็คือคุณบิล ไฮเนกี้เป็นคนขึ้นมาพูดเป็นคนแรกภายในงานยังมีเซสชั่นอีกมากมายผมโชคดีมากเลยได้พูดคุยกับคนที่เป็น global speaker เป็น trend expert ที่สุดคนหนึ่งของโลกครับคุณ Daniel Levine นะครับและคนที่ผมจะพูดคุยด้วยอีกคนหนึ่งครับผมจะพูดคุยกับคุณออนครับซึ่งปัจจุบันเป็น CPO ของ Miner Group คือต้องบอกว่า Miner Group จริงๆเนี่ยเป็นบริษัท global อย่างแท้จริงแต่เป็นบริษัทสัญชาติไทยนะครับแต่จริงๆแล้วเขามีพนักงานกว่า 70,000 คนแล้วก็มีโรงแรมมีร้านอาหารมีธุรกิจของเขาเนี่ยขยายอยู่ทั่วโลกพอร์ตโฟลิโอของเขาเนี่ย 70% อยู่นอกประเทศไทยและมีแผนว่าในอีก 3 ปีข้างหน้าเขาจะขยายธุรกิจโดยคาดว่าจะมีโรงแรมมากกว่า 780 โรงแรมและร้านอาหารมากกว่า 3,700 ร้านครับเราจะมาหาคำตอบกันครับว่าเทรนด์ในอนาคตที่ไม่ใช่เป็นแฟชั่นแต่เป็นพฤติกรรมของผู้บริโภคในแบบคุณ Daniel Levine ซึ่งมองลึกลงกว่าแค่กระแสที่เกิดขึ้นนั้นคืออะไรผมรับรองว่าใครที่อยู่ใน hospitality เอาไปใช้ได้หมดครับหรือว่านอกเหนือนั้นก็เอาไปใช้ได้รวมทั้งเราจะคุยในมุมของคุณออนด้วยครับว่าแล้ว Miner มองเทรนด์เหล่านี้ยังไงและเขาสร้างคนของเขาสร้าง leadership ในองค์กรเพื่อจับกระแสกับเทรนด์อย่างไรครับWhat is the real definition of trends in your opinion?
I make a differentiation between trends and fads. And I think of fads as things that happen quickly, they come and go. Like, do you remember fidget spinners? The things that, they were around for a year or something. And they're fun, but they're not something that a company can make a business plan around. A trend, on the other hand, is when you can see a group of people thinking or buying or doing something together in a certain direction and that's growing and that's what a trend is. It's a trend is a movement of people's thought, people's actions in a particular direction that's measurable in a certain way. It's fairly simple, but it's a simple definition but difficult to see while it's happening.
Sure. So how do you identify emerging trends?
So a few ways. One, we work hand in glove with governments and companies around the world who are creating statistics so that we start by seeing just raw numbers. And then we take those numbers and we work with our trend spotters. We have thousands of trend spotters around the world who every day are sending us things they're finding that are new and unique and unusual in some way. And when we start to see the same kind of thing happening in the same psychographic or demographic or geographic, we connect those dots to see these trends that are forming when we start to see people doing the same kinds of things or people buying the same sorts of things. These are the beginnings of trends that we can spot.
Trend Spotter คือความเชี่ยวชาญของคุณแดเนียลครับเขาพยายามมองให้เห็นถึงเทรนด์ที่กำลังก่อตัวขึ้นแล้วก็ไปสปอตหรือว่าไปจับมาให้ได้ล่วงหน้านั่นเองเขาได้ขึ้นพูดคีย์โน้ตให้กับบริษัทชั้นนำระดับโลกมากมายครับส่วนเซสชั่นของคุณแดเนียลในเวทีของ Minor Group วันนี้ใช้ชื่อว่า Innovation Trends and Masterclass ภายใต้ธีมของธุรกิจ Minor ในปีนี้นั่นก็คือ Expanding Horizons in Hospitality, Food and Lifestyle บนเวทีมี1คีย์เวิร์ดที่น่าสนใจมากครับคือคำว่า Mindset Trend ที่ผ่านมาเราจะได้ยินแล้วก็โฟกัสไปที่คำว่า Consumer Behavior Trends ก็คือพฤติกรรมผู้บริโภคแต่คุณแดเนียลชี้ให้เห็นนะครับว่าพฤติกรรมนั้นมันเป็นผลลัพธ์ของความรู้สึกนึกคิดของคนที่ค่อยๆปรับเปลี่ยนไปจากความคิดหรือความรู้สึกที่ไม่เหมือนเดิมเพราะฉะนั้นมันเหมือนเราไปดักรออีกสเต็ปหนึ่งครับหรือว่าขุดให้ลึกมากกว่าคนอื่นๆหากเราสามารถสปอตหรือว่าจับได้นะครับว่าการเปลี่ยนแปลง mindset ของคนเราก็สามารถที่จะคาดการณ์ได้ครับว่าพฤติกรรมของลูกค้าที่กำลังจะไม่เหมือนเดิมจะเป็นอย่างไรและอันนี้แหละครับธุรกิจจะยิ่งได้เปรียบมากถ้าเกิดว่าเราจับเทรนด์อันนี้ได้ก่อน mindset trend ครับ
Many people, when they think of trends, they think of statistical trends. You might look at global GDP could increase by 75% by 2042. Is that an important number to know for your business? Sure it is. And as you can see here, most trends work in scenarios. But it's important then to say, okay, statistics are great, but what do you do with them? Who are these people? What does it mean? How do you give these people what they want? And I like to think of that as the sexy side of trends. There's two sides, the hard numbers, and then that side where you take those numbers and you do something with it. And we call those mindset trends.
Trends behind the mindset of the people.
Yes. Yeah, so trends are like the secret sauce that get you inside the brain of what people are thinking, what customers are thinking. And so it's really important for business, as you can imagine, if you have that secret that you can see what they're thinking. The challenge is the customers themselves are not thinking them. They're not thinking, hey, I like this trend and I'm going to follow this trend. They just do it. It's just normal. Every day life changes a little bit, slightly. And if you look back in history 5 years, it's easy to see how it's changed. But incrementally, day by day, it's very difficult to see that. Except sometimes there's a big trend quake where things change really quickly all of a sudden because of some big event that's happened. And so I think of COVID, for example, changed the way people work. All of a sudden, very quickly, it was easy to see. But that trend, people working remotely or working both from home and office, that trend was already in action and would have come to us in 5 years from now or 10 years. I don't know exactly, but COVID made it happen quickly. So there was this earthquake, this trends quake. But usually it's not so easy to spot. And it's just like very incremental. And what I think we're very good at is getting inside it and seeing it as it happens.
Wow, it's really interesting. Kun On, what is your thought on this, the concept of the trends? How does Minor Group capture these trends?
I think trends are very important to our customers as well as important to our team members because we need to be able to anticipate and learn about these evolving trends. We also, on the other hand, look at where the business is evolving. So we're working on today while preparing for the uncertainties as well as opportunities for tomorrow. And this is probably one of the reasons why, over the past years, we've been able to grow rapidly and survive through the trends. I'll give you an example of the acquisition of NH business, which now is becoming part of Mine Hotels, and this is basically a business unit now in Europe. When we've acquired the business, Mr. Heineke would basically say, why are you basically acquiring the business at the moment? He said, this is basically an opportunity, and we know that after the COVID period, the Chinese and also as well as the global tourism industry will be opening. So the time to look at acquiring businesses and also look at opportunities, it has to be basically a bit ahead of the curve. And this is probably very similar to, I think, a brand like Pop Mart, where 2 years ago we, started to look at the ideas of different businesses.
Yes.
And Pop Mart at that point, for us, it's different, it's new, and also to convince our leadership and management to embrace on the concept that is very different. But the fact that we've tried that, and then also we were able to secure the joint venture partnership with Pop Mart. Then, in terms of the trends today, with art toys as well as appreciation of the art toys, I think it's something that we're also learning as we go. So we're also looking at customer of today and also emerging customers.
Okay. But how do you see the future? How do you stay ahead of the game?
Well, I think having Daniel here with us is one way. So we continuously learn as well as listening, keeping the pulse, staying close to our customers, learning from the best, the thought leaders that would also come in and help provoke ways of doing things and also how our ways of doing business. In addition to that, I think it's really important that we continue to foster a culture of experimentation, right? So it's really important that when we're hearing something, we have insights. How do we translate that into foresights? And then turning that into the business ideas, ensuring that, I think Miner has a very unique culture. We're very entrepreneurial. But that also means that when we're taking risk, trying on new things, we need to also embrace the risk and know that at certain points in time, it's okay to fail. But the important point about failing is that we need to be able to get up, move it, fix it quickly.
แน่นอนครับธุรกิจท่องเที่ยวร้านอาหารเป็นอุตสาหกรรมที่ได้รับผลกระทบมากจากโควิดนะครับแต่เมื่อโควิดนั้นจบลงครับในปี 2023 ที่ผ่านมากลับกลายเป็นปีที่ไมเนอร์มีกำไรประจำปีสูงสุดเป็นประวัติการณ์ Core Net Profit หรือว่ากำไรสุทธิเติบโตขึ้น3เท่าปัจจุบันก็คือ$200 ล้านสหรัฐครับ Minor Hotels ครับหรือว่าธุรกิจโรงแรมบริษัทมียอดกำไรสุทธิหลักเพิ่มขึ้นกว่า 440% ฟังไม่ผิดครับ 440% เมื่อเทียบกับปี 2022 และสำหรับ Minor Food กำไรสุทธิหลักของเขาเพิ่มขึ้นกว่า2เท่าเมื่อเทียบกับปีก่อนหน้าและถ้าเทียบเป็น Market Cap ครับ Minor Group ถือว่ามีมูลค่ามากกว่า 4.58 พันล้านเหรียญสหรัฐนะครับเทียบเป็นเงินไทยคูณออกมาก็อยู่ที่ประมาณ 170,000 ล้านบาทนั่นเองนะครับถามว่ามากแค่ไหนถ้าเทียบกันเฉพาะอุตสาหกรรมโรงแรมอย่างเดียวถือได้ว่าเขาอยู่ในอันดับ21ของโลกเลยนะครับคำถามก็คือไมเนอร์ทำได้อย่างไรต้องไปฟังจากคุณบิล ไฮเนกี้ครับ
When we met a year ago, we were often asked why we were so optimistic about our company prospects. Because we moved quickly and decisively to enable businesses to weather the long COVID storm. When the world reopened, most companies proceeded with a degree of caution. Unlike most, we didn't have as many concerns. After staying at home for so long, we know and knew people would venture out again and even up their spending, and things would return to pre-COVID levels quickly. But even I didn't expect it to happen quite so quickly. It turns out several of the trends spotlighted in last year's summit presentation did materialize, helping us to enjoy a banner year. For our restaurants, many consumers did want to go out to eat, socialize, and try new experiences. And this trend continues today, especially experiential dining in like Benihana, the Wolseley, and even Zuma. China's reopening did make a difference as well. Although China tourism took some time to reopen, it is now making a solid comeback and has once again become the #1 source of tourists in both Thailand and the Maldives. Thailand and Australia enjoyed tourist arrivals that doubled their 2022 numbers. Europe was the world's most visited region last year, accounting for 55% of all international tourist arrivals, I should say. The Middle East was the only region to reach past pre-pandemic levels. How did these records impact on Minor? Well, robust growth in Europe, the resurgence in Thailand, and other markets helped to produce a 3-fold increase in core net profit to over $200 million for Minor International last year.
People have been talking for years now about eco-trends and sustainability.
Right.
It's a major thing that is now almost not even something that I speak about in trends because it's just companies, everyone embraces it. Everyone realizes that's really important. So, I look at, so what's next? What comes after that? And what we're seeing comes after that is not just looking after the environment, but looking after the people who live in the environment. And so we're seeing that the trend is changing to be not only about the globe, but about us. And so we're seeing in many industries, it's changing to be more about the wellness of the humans who are living on the planet. One thing about trends is that they're not siloed by industry.
Okay.
Trends are, we see the same trends happening across industry. And so when it comes to this idea of wellness, in architecture, for example, we're seeing that they're building buildings now according not just to standards that are good for the environment, but standards that are good for the people who are living and working and playing in those buildings. Similarly, when it comes to hotels, we're seeing hotels that are considering things about human wellness in ways that they hadn't thought of before. For example, I would say every hotel that I've seen that's coming on board in the next 5 years has a place in the public area for people to work alone together, because being together is now understood as part of wellness. So they're bringing people out of the rooms and having spaces for them to work, even though people might even have headphones in and doing this. It's about being together. So the concept of wellness is expanding, and part of that concept also, of course, goes to employees. It's not just about customers when it comes to hospitality. So many of these trends are applicable for both guests and employees or team members, because people are people, right? And we're all interested in reacting in those same trends. So in the wellness trend, for example, what's happened in HR for years now is HR people want to take care of employees in all kinds of ways about their mental health, their physical health. And one thing that's now changing is they're also thinking about their employees' financial health.
Okay.
And what that means is helping employees understand and manage their money in maybe even into retirement, which is a very weird place for a company to be. Like, it's because it's very touchy for people to have a company be in their business about their personal finances, but it's an important part of wellness. Personal finance for all of us is a very important part of our lives, and for companies to just say, well, that's one part of wellness that we're not going to touch is a mistake. And so we're starting to see companies come up with creative ways of helping their employees flourish in financial wellness, but at the same time building that wall So accept their privacy because there's a lot of privacy between them. It's a touchy thing, but it's one of the next steps of increasing the idea of wellness.
ภายใต้ความยิ่งใหญ่ของธุรกิจแล้วก็ความหลากหลายทั้งในแง่ของวัฒนธรรมพื้นที่ตั้งแล้วก็สไตล์ของการบริการก็ทำให้ชวนคิดครับว่าไมเนอร์มีวิธีการบริหารจัดการทั้งเชิงคนแล้วก็วิธีในการบริการให้มีความเป็นอันหนึ่งอันเดียวกันภายใต้ร่มของไมเนอร์กรุ๊ปได้อย่างไรในขณะที่ก็ยังมีความยูนิคมีความเฉพาะตัวในแต่ละธุรกิจที่เขาทำได้ครับ
Well, with Minor, currently, as you know, the company's been growing very fast. Currently, we have 73,000 people around the world, and more than 70% of our business, as well as our people, are working, operating, living outside of Thailand. So it's important that we recognize that whatever it is that we do, it may not be always resonating. And there always going to be different trends that are coming across. So at Minor, we try to empower people, right? And then also the sense of ownership is very strong. As entrepreneur, clearly people would be encouraged to think like owners. So with the people strategy, then we focus on only a few things and ensuring that doing it right. I've been working in other conglomerates where you would have an operating blueprint, 7 strategies in which you need to apply globally. But for me, I think it would be different for Minor. It should be different because the nature of our business industries, and we have about 80 different brands in lifestyle, hospitality, as well as food. Each one exists because they're special. And there's someone, which is the customers, who appreciates them. And the best way for us to enable people to serve them better is to empower. So for me, it's about being clear on what it is in terms of what Minor is all about. And then also allowing people room to help co-create. And then in addition to that, I think I work on basically the model of 10, 20, and 70. 10% of the work that are linking to people, it would be basically something that would be applying across the group. That would be the vision, the core values, the behaviors for success. So those are the kind of things that we will continue to develop and nurture. There would be 20% that I would invite the colleagues, my teams, people in culture, professionals, or leaders to help us share with us on the best practices. There's no point in trying to invent everything here when there's so many great practices out in the market. So if there's some areas in which they're very strong at and they're very, very passionate about, then I invite them to help champion the initiatives in order for us to go faster. And then the 70%, I think recognizing that this is also a very important part of the work. It has to be locally relevant. It has to be brand relevant. For example, the brand like Anantara would offer a unique position compared to Avani. All of them are special in their own ways. So the GMs are talents and leaders. They should be creating that experience that would be most relevant to brands, markets, and country.
In addition to wellness, I love this trend. Braggable Experience?
Yes.
Yes. So could you explain now what it really means?
Sure. So a lot of people travel because they want to brag.
Okay.
Brag, it's a big term of brag. I don't just mean to, show off to other people, although that's a big component of it, but also even just brag to themselves that this is how they perceive themselves. Someone who can and does travel like this and live this kind of a lifestyle. But it's really connected to social media also. And we see now so many people use social media when they travel, even more than they do when they're at home. And that's a lot.
Yeah, likewise.
Right. And what are people doing? What are you doing on social media when you're traveling? You're bragging.
Okay, I accept it.
I mean, so am I. So, we all are.
It's very fun.
Sure, look where I am. And especially when you stay at a beautiful property like this and you have a view like this, sure you're going to brag about it. So it's understandable. And so because companies understand that people are looking to brag, they want to brag, they can make money and attract visitors by creating braggable experiences. And so, for example, when it comes to restaurants, so many people take photographs of their food,
Sure.
right? And so I don't know if you know that in many top cooking schools now around the world, at the very top cooking schools, they have classes in how to plate food so that it looks good for the camera.
Oh, Instagrammable.
I believe that anybody in any business can create braggable experiences that will be Instagrammable. What if you're a mid-range hotel and you want to work inexpensively but create some braggable experience? What could you do? Well, one of my favorite examples is this hotel from London that has partnered with a local university to bring in a professor from a different subject every evening to give a mini lecture in the bar. They call it drinking lessons, which I love. And so it's they're inviting people, especially business travelers, to stay in this hotel and mingle at the bar with these drinking lessons and learn something. It also embraces this idea that people want to learn, and they're creating this idea that people are braggable. Right. I mean, not just so it looks good to your eyes, but so it looks good for the camera.
Okay.
That's a difference. There's a difference there.
Yeah, it's all about the lighting.
Yes, and there's and restaurants know this. You may have noticed in many restaurants these days, they've installed these pin lights that come from the ceiling. Well, that's for Instagram. There's restaurants around the world that when you walk in, they give you or offer you equipment to attach your phones to so that you could take better pictures of their food. These Instagrammable experiences are things that people in the travel industry should be thinking about all the time, and not just food. People in travel of all types should be thinking, how can we plate our experience to make it Instagrammable, to make it braggable?
Right. Do you agree with that? How can hospitality provider leverage this trend?
Yes, definitely. I mean, we're in a travel food industry, and in a lot of ways, people travel for different reasons. So, as Daniel mentioned, in terms of the Instagrammable experience, that's one. And also, in addition to that, you talk about how business and everything in terms of life becoming a lot more integrated, right? So, even when you're on business, you also have a lifestyles, and people are also looking to create exceptional experiences from each and every places they travel. And then also it's not only about the business, so I think we also talk
people
about
travel for a lot of
leisure,
different reasons.
Right?
Correct. And what you're referring to is that it used to be very segmented. People are either traveling for leisure or they're traveling for business on corporate travel. And we don't see that anymore so specifically. People are traveling for business, but they're taking a few days to travel to have fun also, or they're bringing their spouse who's having fun. Or people are traveling for leisure and they're also getting work done. I mean, I travel for leisure a lot, but I've never traveled for leisure and not also been working. And I think that's normal. I mean, I think that's so many people. So there's this blurring that's going on that makes it not so segmented. And so the old way of hospitality is hotels they were either business hotels or they were leisure hotels. And that doesn't exist anymore.
That's right. So, for minor, if you were talking about, a brand like Anantara, there's something that would be certain uniqueness that would be considered as brand experience. But on the other hand, we also wanted to make sure that, when people experience Anantara, when they're in Nice, they're in Venice, they're in Maldives, when people wake up, we want people to know where they are rather than basically finding themselves in a uniformity of brands. So that's the kind of magical experience that we aim to create, knowing and also learning that our customers' preferences are also evolving.
Right. Another trend that I'm very interested in is transparency.
Yes.
Yeah. Why is this so important
Well,
right now?
huge trend. The idea of transparency is that customers can see right through us as businesses. There's no secrets anymore. It used to be, before the internet, all the information that customers got from businesses came from the businesses themselves. It was what businesses told them they are, and people would go, oh, okay. But now, of course, everyone's getting information from other people who are also customers, and they're sharing that. So that's one part of it, that because this information is out there, companies can't hide anymore, and they need to be clear. But another part of it is that we're living in a time of a lot of mistrust.
Exactly.
And
I agree with that.
People are they're being lied to a lot, or they're not sure. And we see it in politics, we see it in media, we see it in sports, we see it in every industry. Facebook lying to people about what they're doing with your information, Volkswagen lying to people about their emissions, all over the place. So being transparent is the antidote to that, to make people feel that they're getting the truth and can trust you. Transparency equals trust.
Okay.
So the more transparent that a company can be, the more they're going to engender trust from clients or customers, just because they're being clear and honest about what they're doing. And if they're not being honest, they're going to be found out most likely in these days. It's hard to hide anymore. And so transparency has just become an extremely important trend for businesses across the industrial spectrum.
Right. Kun On, I was wondering what level or what degree of transparency should companies open to the customer or the employee?
Yeah, well, I think this is, it resonates very well with what Daniel is saying. It's very difficult nowadays to hide things. So it's much better to be transparent, and also equally important to actively learn and listen and understand what matters most. Sometimes, for example, I'll give you an example of employer value proposition. Rather than trying to create something from research, from the data in which we have, oftentimes it's best to just go out and then test out, and which I basically have a very structured listening program that I would go out and meet people all the time and ask them what's good about working for minor. So we start to work it backwards. Then, oftentimes people will say, this is one of the most common themes that came across. They'll say, oh, well, I love working for minor. It's challenging, it's exciting, it's moving all the time. But, as the company grow, I grow. And then I basically benefit from career advancement as well as the financial well-being side of things. So taking in terms of that truth of what employees are saying, and then bring it back into developing a clear and strong value proposition, I found it a lot easier.
Okay.
And in that way, it's not an advertising employer brand, but it's basically reflecting who and what we are. So that's the kind of approach that we've been trying to use in order to simplify some of the messages we are sending and how we connect to team members. And also at the same way then, when our team members are clear about the purpose, about what we're trying to achieve, our CEO would say, we have a very clear plan of opening another 300 hotels within 3 years. We're planning to open another 1,000 restaurants around the world. So people know, and a lot of people are very excited about it, and they also know that they have a part to play.
And by the way, I would also say with this transparency trend, it's not just about consumers, but it's about employees also. There's no hiding. Companies can't hide any longer about how it is to work for their company.
Okay.
There's many websites that employees go to investigate the company before they work there, with other employees writing about what the experience is like in those companies.
Right.
But the benefit is for both employees and for customers is that I've seen, and I think everybody has, your viewers also, that customer service has gotten better over the years in general. The quality of companies has gotten better over the years. Because there's no hiding, you have to be great, and you are great. Your properties are great because you have to be. There is no hiding anymore. It just raises the level of everybody. It's really a good thing.
Right, but there's a debate about this privacy versus transparency. How do you balance these two?
Well, from a company's perspective, I don't think companies really have much privacy.
Really?
Companies, they want to keep secret what they're about to do. I mean, there is that sort of privacy, and that's important. But privacy in their offerings, no, I don't think that's something that a company should want to keep private. That's a company. In fact, I think there's only benefits to sharing as much as you can about what you offer and putting that out into the marketplace. Yeah.
Right. And how do you build trust to your customers?
Building trust, I think, starts from within, and transparency would be one, and also recognizing, oftentimes as we move fast, there will always be something that we can improve, and to be aware of those challenges and then accept it in order to build on. I think it's really important. I think people need to be heard, and they want to be acknowledged. So that's probably the first part. And also secondly, more efforts should be placed into how can we improve the particular experience. So I think it's coming from the accountability and ownership that our team members have within their own areas. And many of our managers will say they are empowered to do the right things for their customers. They're out there in the field. They're out there they're being the closest to the customers. So in terms of culture, we want to foster a culture of inclusivity, so that we can also recognize and appreciate different ideas, different ways of doing things, and also I think it also helps resonate very well with our customers. I think nowadays it's for companies, you can't be all things to all people, but when you're clear on what you can be and also your brand value proposition, employer brand value propositions, then you tend to attract people who value the same into your company.
Another trend is luxury, and I heard that you said on stage luxury and technology, something like that.
Yes.
It's really different, but you try to compare these two. So can you explain more about luxury and technology?
Sure. What I'm seeing is that luxury and technology are sort of going in separate directions in a way from a consumer's perspective. Especially in hospitality, luxury is moving more towards being people-focused, high touch, as opposed to high tech. And luxury is, it's all about people. If you walked into a luxury hotel and you were greeted by a robot, it might have been cool the first time you saw it, but every time after that you'd be like, no, I want to speak to a person. So we're seeing the luxury sector is becoming even more human-focused. But humans are expensive. Very expensive, and humans are getting more expensive.
Sure.
Unfortunately for you. But technology is getting cheaper all the time, and so we're seeing this bifurcation happening, where what will be in the near future is that the high end of luxury, and that's in travel, in fashion, and cars and other sales ways will be high touch, human beings helping human beings. And most of the people will be helped by AI, robots, machines, because that's cheap. So, and it's, even in, I see it in all industries, even in education. When you look at schools and how children are being taught, in a lot of schools around the world, school children are being taught by computer.
Right.
They're looking at computers, and the computers are teaching them history and mathematics. But if you go into the fancy schools in Silicon Valley, where the rich tech people send their kids, there's not a whole lot of computers in there. They're being taught by human beings. This is even in education, it's being separated. It's changing the world in a way that's maybe not so healthy. One thing about technology is that it's unstoppable, of course.
Sure.
The technology is happening. But I think that we, as humans, have to be clear with ourselves and our children that we use technology and we should not be used by technology.
Exactly.
It's important for everyone to try to set those limits. And it's so hard to do, as I think we all know, especially if we're parents. But it's just going to get worse as the future marches on.
Right. Do you agree with that? Minor has a lot of luxury hotels, luxury tourism. So how do you approach luxury trends along with technology?
Well, for me, I'm very happy to hear Daniel say that. People are expensive and I think valuable assets within the company. And Minor we are, as our founder often says, our business is all about people. People build brands, and brands, on the other hand, is an output, right, of people. So within that, then, within our luxury sector, the importance of creating exceptional human experience is so crucial. So our team members would be able to enjoy some of the benefits of having technology to support their work. But as long as our customers continue to be excited and be engaged with luxury as well as other experiences that we offer within our business, I think it's important that we continue to invest, grow, and also attract the right people into the company. When I say the right people, I mean that, again, we can't be all things to all people. But if they're interested in growth, personal growth, business growth, as well as the excitement of taking on risk, doing something new, then I think that's a definite opportunity for Minor to attract people who are interested around the world.
Let's talk about AI. AI is here and now, and it's evolving constantly. So how do you use AI in Minor?
Well, what we normally will try to do is we know that digital is important, digital skills, human skills are important. So what we try to do is we try to offer both.
Okay.
Over the past 2 years, we introduced the concept of leadership ambidexterity, which is basically, if you are a straightforward translation would be the ability to use the right hand and the left hand equally. Right? And then oftentimes you would be using one hand, but nowadays with social disruption, the speed of change, leaders must be able to master two opposing sets of skills. Digital would be one, and people would be another. So while we have structured programs that would train our executives as well as our team members on technology as well as the investment on it, we are also spending a lot of efforts in ensuring that we're able to help our team members and leaders understand and have a vision of what that exceptional experience is going to be, how to stay ahead of the curve, how to anticipate customer needs and trends. So that's something that we do on an ongoing basis. AI is one of the topics. Apart from when to use AI is when not to use AI, and how can we basically integrate all of that together, right? So we have ongoing training, and AI would be on a quarterly basis at a minimum, would be, are things that would be offering, because we know that it's evolving so quickly. At the same time, I think on the data privacy as well as the ethical side is also equally important. So while we educate people on AIs and the use of it, we also need to ensure how not to use it or when not to use it when it's not appropriate. So it's a learning and also the way it's ongoing for us.
Yeah. So Mr. Daniel, as trend expert, so how do you see the impact of AI?
Tremendous impact. In a company, and as you said, it's an ongoing thing, and nobody really knows the future. There's been so many different guesses about where it's going, but at least at the beginning of AI, and AI means a lot of things to different people, but in a company setting, where it's very valuable right now is as a tool. So not about necessarily replacing workers, although it will be doing that more. But maybe one way of thinking, and most of your viewers will know AI in terms of things like ChatGPT and large language models, but there's a lot of other aspects to it. But in a business setting, I sort of like to think of it like when the calculator first came out,
Okay.
And then now instead of having to do the math in the head, people then had a machine to do the calculator on, and AI, especially these language AIs, are super helpful for that kind of thing as somebody to help you write, or perhaps something like Midjourney to help you make images. But you still need a human to operate it and to ask it the right questions and to tease the things out of it. We're still at the point where it's a tool for humans. And so what's changing in companies is companies are looking or need the skills to understand how to use that calculator. And it's a learning for all of us. I mean, nobody is hiring somebody out of school who knows everything about it. AI, I mean, I'm not talking about programming, I'm talking about using it in a business environment. And one thing that makes your job more difficult is you have obviously continuous learning that happens in your company, and you're adding now AI to that because we're all learning together.
So, but when we try to understand the benefit of AI and the risk of AI, I'm really interested in how will AI change our behavior, how AI will change the consumer mindset or consumer needs. What is the thing about
Well,
that?
so from a consumer's perspective, when it comes to travel, for example, we're seeing that consumers are and will be searching differently. So instead of going to Google and putting in luxury hotel in Bangkok, and then you get a whole list of links, and then you have to go through the links and you read them all and you figure it out. You say to the AI,
Wow.
What are the 10 best luxury hotels in Bangkok?
Wow.
And the AI researches that for you, and in a few seconds gives you the answers. So I like to think of those kinds of AI engines as not search engines, but research engines.
Okay.
They're doing the work for us. And so you can imagine how that changes the landscape about how people
Yes.
Travel. I've already created many trips of my own by using AI to say, hey, I'm going to Bangkok for 5 days. I really like great restaurants. I love Thai food. I like Southern Thai food, the hot stuff, but the real things that most tourists don't go to. Where can I go? Boop, seconds. I have answers to that. Searching that on Google is not so easy.
Right. So are you anticipating this trend? And how do you deal with it?
Yes, so clearly, first is continuous education. And this is basically education across all levels. We would also have the C-suites, apart from the leadership summit, where we expose our participants with the world's best thought leaders. We also have a program called M-Lead. M-Lead is a program in which we have been designing and also constructing for all executives. So from CEO direct report, C-suites. So apart from the virtual learning that we provide, we also bring our leaders together in a smaller class, and we invite many leading institutions around the world to come in for a training session.
Wow.
But always when we normally in terms of pattern, we would do half the session of the 3 days on technology, but then another half would be on people, human, and leadership. So that's been basically a format in which we've been using to help support our leadership development. And in addition to that, we would ask our leaders to complete digital assessments. So the point is, I think it's good to benchmark, know where we're at. Not so important about high-low scores, but the key is improvements, right? So we have pre and post assessments as well as the discussion around the application of AIs. And there's so many people within our business that are so keen on technologies. So we tend to also learn from best practices that are happening around the world.
So keep learning is the key.
Yes.
So it is. And specifically what companies are doing is they're understanding how those language models are getting their information, and then they're making sure that their information is available to those language models. So it's about learning how it works, learning how the AI works, and then gaming that to make sure that it has your information. And when somebody puts in, what are the 10 best hotels in Bangkok, your hotel is going to come up. in the same way that for the last decade, people have been doing the same exact thing with Google.
Okay. The last trend, purpose is the future. Why?
Purpose is the future. Yes. Purpose is the future because the reason why people are in the hospitality industry, the reason why people choose to go into this industry is to help other people. If you're not interested in being hospitable, if that's not part of your DNA, you're in the wrong industry. You should be going somewhere else. And so the purpose is about fulfilling your highest purpose, which is probably helping other people, actualizing yourself to be the best person you can be, and using that to help other people. And for the guests who are coming to your properties or eating in your restaurants, they're not staying in your properties just because they need it to sleep, or eating in your restaurants just because they want to eat. They're staying in your properties because they want to have an experience. They want to have a meaningful experience with friends or family, something that's special. And so purpose, the idea of purpose, is really powering the hospitality industry from both sides, from the reason why guests are going to these places and the reason that they're being helped by the people who are working there. It's an alignment that I think is really powerful, and what makes today going to a fantastic brand like Anantara such a special experience for people who go there. But there are no Anantara hotels in the United States, but I'm American, and I and so many of my friends know this brand.
Wow!
Because when we travel, this is what we're looking for. Last January, my wife and I were in Hoi An in Vietnam. We stayed at Anantara.
Wow.
We paid full price. By the way.
Okay.
Because they're wonderful hotels, and we know about them. So these, especially on the high end, the idea of purpose really it's a beautiful alignment in the sensibilities of both guests and employees.
Wow. So what is the purpose of Minor and how did you build this purpose?
Well, I mean, I believe that our business exists to deliver exceptional experiences. And, with this exceptional experience, not only basically for customers, but for team members, our stakeholders, as well as partners. I think it's really important that, with probably a change through the technology, people are able to spend more time doing things and also getting more things done. And then you talked about that, right? And then also, how do we then, when people are looking for something, they're looking for something that would be more meaningful. They're looking to, even technology, people are looking to connect either with each other or connecting with themselves at a deeper level, right? So when they're looking to do something, to go somewhere, to experience the food, it's got to be something that resonates with their preference and also their inner selves. That's why we're seeing the importance of sustainability growing substantially. Because I think people are also in search of meaning. When people are more exposed to technology, the possibilities from the technology front, but then also on the human front is endless, right? And they get inspired by one another. So and in the same way, then for Minor, it's important that we have a role to play. And I think people are delighted that they have that role to play and, to contribute into creating exceptional experiences for our customers, for their teams. And I think that's probably one of the source of reason why we have been growing fairly rapidly over the years.
What's next for Minor?
Oh, well, if I were to refer to the founder's comment, he said, the best is yet to come. So it's about discovery. It's about appreciating what we have, the people, the team members, the love that our customers have for our brands. But in saying that, that's for today, right? But then our business is about learning, growing, taking some risk. So it will be about growth, about creating even more exceptional experience in various ways.
So Mr. Daniel, from all the trends that we have discussed, in your opinion, what are the most important skills?
What's becoming more important for employees and has always been important for leaders is to not be such specialists, but to have a more broad education and broad knowledge. And especially when you think about AI coming onto the scene, AI will be doing a lot of the grunt work that specialists have been doing. And so the people who will be flourishing in business in the next few years are people who have who know a little about a lot rather than a lot about a little.
Wow.
And of course, great leaders have been doing that for a long time. They're not somebody who necessarily have deep knowledge in a particular aspect, but they're very good at bringing people together, and maybe that leadership quality is trickling down and becoming more important for everyday workers. Do you agree?
Yes, and then I'd like to refer to our group CEO direction, about hiring. He said, he loves to hire people who are smarter than him. And then, recognizing that our role as leaders, we need to foster talent and nurture them. And I think I mentioned earlier, empowering people to rise. So our growth will not be coming from a fixed mindset or a fixed set of business plan, but it's about discovering possibilities. And at Minor, we shouldn't have any box. People would say, well, think outside of the box, but in reality, possibilities endless. So there's no boundary, no box, right? So for Minor, I think where we are and what Daniel has said resonates with us very well. The journey will be very exciting, and I'm sure that there's going to be plenty of challenges, social disruption, digital disruptions. But as long as our mindset, we're setting ourselves to be ready, future ready, then I think we would be able to successfully grow our business and serve the needs of tomorrow's customer.
We talk a lot about trends, consumer behaviors, the changes in this industry. But I try to conclude our conversation. Do you have any recommendations or suggestions to entrepreneurs who are listening to our conversation? What steps should they take, or what strategy should they take to overcome all these challenges in this dynamic landscape? I will go with you first.
I think being entrepreneur, I think the difference between the startup and entrepreneurs that entrepreneurs are able to then scale up. So with the scalability, in my view, the people component is so important. I often receive questions about, how do I grow my business? How do I get and attract people to come and work for me? My business actually now very exciting, but it's not scalable because I have no one to basically be helping me. So I think moving forward, apart from in terms of having brilliant ideas, how do we ensure that we share the purpose? They're clear on what it is that your business is actually all about, and it's beyond selling products. And if we're able to identify and then also find people with the similar visions, then they're the ones that are going to come in, offer skill sets, offer difference of ideas, which is, I think, really important. We can't be all thinking the same way, but we also need to create a culture in which we can also take risks. Ideas can also be challenged, right? And I think it would help the entrepreneurs become sustainable in terms of success over long run.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel. What advice would you give?
Well, of course, I see the world through the lens of trends. And so for entrepreneurs, it's so important to understand what's trending with your customers. Trends are like rocket ships. They're easier to ride in the direction they're going.
Okay.
To fight the trends is really a mistake. It's a big mistake.
Okay.
So it's very important for entrepreneurs to understand what their customers are thinking and feeling, what they want, what they're looking for, and to create products and services that resonate with customers, not today, but tomorrow. And that's what trends are all about. It's about looking over the horizon to see where the world is going, and then creating a business that appeals to the sensibilities of those customers.
I love that. Trend is like rocket ship. So let's ride rocket ship together. Thank you so much.
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
ขอบคุณครับ
Thank you.
ขอบคุณค่ะ Thank you